What is up, guys? Welcome back. So I'm honestly really hyped for this video. I think it is going to help a lot of you guys out. Pretty much what I'm going to be doing is covering the main, problems I've seen stop people from becoming profitable. And what we're actually going to be doing, going to a trusty slideshow, and we're going to be looking at multiple examples of these problems from traders who have all since, made six figures. So you can kind of see how that problem comes up and how I recommend going about fixing it. And yeah, kind of like the main stuff I've seen. So the first and the most important one, probably the hardest problem everyone faces is stepping away. Now, this can be in a multitude of ways. It could be the fact that you're just, you can't step away after a loss, or it could be at a much more emotional point where it's like you are close to making some money, right? You're close to requesting, and you just cannot, step away, right? You cannot step away. It's a lot more stress. It's a lot harder, and you decide to, just continue trading all this stuff. There's a lot of ways that this problem comes up, but obviously it is going to hinder your trading a lot. So one of the main things I, will recommend is moving to something like a platform where you can set a lockout, right? You can set a trade limit. You can set, all these things that are going to prohibit you from, not stepping away, right? Forcefully going to prohibit you from, taking that other trade, ruining your P&L, right? Literally like 2-3 months worth of P&L in a single day, right? So again, whether it's greed, whether, there's a lot of reasons why you might have that issue, but just forcefully stopping it is probably the easiest way. That is what I've seen, most people do. Now, moving on to the second point, and it is patience, but not really patience. Well, I guess that's a vague point. Patience in the way of kind of trusting what you're doing. And what I've kind of seen happens with people is they'll get some proof of concept, right? They'll get some proof of concept. They start making some money, right? Maybe on a slower scale, on a smaller scale, and they get really impatient. And they start forcing stuff. Pretty good example right here, right? You lose the discipline on accounts because you've proven to yourself in the past that, hey, like I can actually pass these, I can make some money on them. But when you get back on the accounts, you don't have the patience. You can see what happened here is literally like 3 sets, I'm pretty sure. Bought new ones, blew them, bought new ones again, traded Asian, blew them again. Yeah, so 3 sets of accounts blown. Why? Because you don't have patience, right? You don't have patience. And the reason why this often happens is you don't really see the vision, right? You don't really see the vision. As you can see right here, I was really trying to say, like, bro, like you've proven to yourself in the past when you're patient what can happen. And at scale, it's going to be a much larger amount of money, right? It's going to be, 20K, like I said right here. And it's like pretty hard for people to comprehend that because they haven't experienced it, right? And it's like, I always said it this way, like you're 2 trades away from passing, 4 trades away from securing this amount. Even if it takes you a month for that, like you're still gonna be net positive. And it's really hard to comprehend that for people. And that's why they get impatient, right? They'll put that hand back on the stove and think that, changing something up is going to fix that issue, but it's not. And you can literally see, like literally 2 weeks later, or like I think 3 weeks later of patience, there you go, like 10K, pretty much like I said. And that's kind of the issue where it's like people, you can't really get it until you experience it, but you just want to reinforce consistently, or at least remind yourself that patience is going to play out just long term, and you're building good habits. It's going to catch up to you, right? Even if, this week or next week, doesn't net anything, a couple weeks down the line, long term, it's going to, help a lot. Now, this is another one. We're going to go to fear and not trusting yourself. And I'm going to go into like a specific issue, but there's a lot of issues that can come up. The main thing with fear is what I come down to is the way you are risking, right? If you guys are trading, a setup where it's higher win rate, right? Just for this example, because that's what I've seen, and you've proven to yourself you're taking good trades, or maybe you're letting some trades slip up and they're not the best trades, and ultimately it comes down to you not trusting yourself. because you're not bidding on those heavy trades. And I've seen this a lot of times. Most of the time on evals, right? You can be a good trader, but you're just like not risking a lot. You're risking like 1 minute. I've even seen like micros on evals when you've already proven to yourself that you can be profitable, right? You can see right here, it's like, bro, 4 trades for a 600 P&L on a combine, risking very light on that. And I was like, bro, just cut it out, get to like 1 setup instead of all those with heavy risk, and actually start bidding on those trades, and you'll see the progression. And you can see literally, like, what was this, like a month later, I'm pretty sure, month and a half later, you can see the trades is a lot less, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, but like you can see it's crazy. Like the difference, once you start trusting yourself, you increase your risk, and it's just going to continue like reinforcing this idea on yourself that you are actually, good at trading, because a lot of it comes down from doubt, right? You might have seen that you're winning trades, but you're not really bidding on them as well as you should be, right? Once you've developed that patience, you've developed that strategy, you've developed your discretion, right? You're a good trader, but you might not be making money, or you might not be where you want to be. A lot of that comes down from, hey, you're really not bidding on your trades. You're not taking advantage of the patience that you have. You're not taking advantage of the skills that you have, right? So there's a big thing that I've noticed, and that. And now going into the last one, and honestly the most crucial one, which people don't really talk about, and it is a problem that you face later in your trading journey. Not really later, but when you start getting proof of concept and success. And that is, again, self-doubt and overcomplicating. Once you first start, making some money, you feel kind of undeserved. And you feel like you're not really doing enough. As you can see right here, dude's making mad bread, but then he's like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. Like, I want to get better at trading. It's like a mindset that you always have in life. You want to get better. You want to consistently improve, do all this stuff. This is one of the worst, and I've seen this ruin multiple people. I'll give you guys a specific example, but you already go through the hardest point. You beat the risk issue, right? You beat the psychology issue. You beat the strategy issue. You start, proving to yourself. You start making some money, right? Obviously, in the beginning, it feels undeserved or it feels lucky or whatever, but in reality, it's just like a newfound feeling. And the issue is, a lot of people, even though they've literally got over the hardest part, the hardest hump, they're doing good for themselves. They're actually beating the market. This is where they'll just overthink themselves, overcomplicate themselves into issues again. I've seen it happen where someone was very, very profitable, right? Over a month span, very, very profitable, trusting himself, building that discretion, trading good. And for some reason, it just got to his head and he felt like it was luck. And the next month, he went back to the drawing board and tried changing his strategy, tried backtesting every day for multiple hours a day, and literally unconditioned himself and became unprofitable again. Even though he was doing really, really good the past couple of months, and the previous month was amazing, he literally, after that, unconditioned himself to the bad habits, right? And you guys will be surprised. You guys will be so surprised how often, it happens where you'll start actually, making money. You'll start doing stuff correctly. Maybe you have a bad week. Maybe, something makes you question yourself, and you question yourself so much that you completely stop thinking rationally of what was working, and you start changing it up, right? And it's so crazy to see that it happens, but I've seen it happen so many times, okay? And it's so sad to see it happen. Thankfully, here, it didn't happen, because I was actually tweaking out, but I've seen it happen to multiple people before, where they will literally, go from being unprofitable to profitable, and then back to unprofitable because they switch something up, which obviously it doesn't make sense. Why would you switch up what's working, right? This is another thing as well. You should never, if you are at the point where you're making money, yes, you can altercate stuff to make it better, but please do not completely change stuff up because you have a bad week or whatever, which obviously you guys know. But when you are when you are new to this emotion of actually netting positive, it's pretty easy to, have a week or something, or it's you want to change stuff up. I promise you, do not do this. This will be your biggest ever regret. You will fall right back into the loop. But that is kind of the main things that I've personally seen. And again, I wanted to show you examples just to show you that it is possible to get over that hump. It is possible. Like, the feelings that you feel are normal feelings, right? The problems that you go through, everyone else has gone through. It just comes down to, are you going to fix that problem, right? Are you going to face that problem and fix it, or are you going to let that problem consume you and you're really not going to combat it like you should be, right? That's the only difference. That's the only difference, because if you look at these examples right here, if we look at all these examples, you choosing to either combat this problem or keep the same problem is going to differ on whether you are going to succeed or you're not. That's really it. When those problems come up, are you going to fix that problem? Are you going to face that issue? Or are you going to just live with the issue and not fix the problem and stay in the same spot? That's kind of what you have to ask yourself. But I hope you guys like this video. I think it's pretty helpful. It definitely would have helped me. But, make sure to subscribe, you know what I mean? And we'll catch you guys in the next video.